I'm sitting here with Andrew Laing from Hunter Laing.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and great to be back in Sweden, where I've been many times over the years.
Yeah, very happy to have you here. We are actually at Också, a Swedish bar in Stockholm, with a long history of whiskey as well. But we're not going to talk about Också today. We're going to talk about Hunter Laing and also some other topics as well.
Excellent.
So first of all, Andrew, what is Hunter Laing? Could you tell our viewers what the history about Hunter Laing?
Absolutely.
What is it?
So Hunter Laing is technically a 5 or 6 years old company. We were formed in our current form in 2013. My family's been involved in the whisky industry for a long time, since my grandfather founded the original Douglas Laing and Company in the 1940s. And we've been historically blenders and bottlers of Scotch whisky. So in the modern form, Hunter Laing, we're still very much a blender of whisky. We create blended Scotch whiskies. We now create some very nice, interesting blended malts, which still is hard in our heads to call them blended malts. We still think of them as vatted malts, the old terminology.
Yeah.
But yes, they're blended malts, which I think we'll try one later on.
I'm
right
excited
here.
to do
Good.
that.
Good.
Yeah.
And an Islay one, because I knew the Swedes would like to hear about some peated Islay.
Yeah, I would expect that actually.
Yes, yes. So that's a big part of the business, and the other, maybe even more interesting part of what Hunter Laing does, we are single cask bottlers, of course. Our flagship brand is the Old Malt Cask. So the Old Malt Cask range of single cask bottlings.
Yeah, and the box for that is normally like...
it's like a hexagonal
it's
green.
A hexagonal, yeah. So I think I've seen it many times, and
Good,
I tried many of the releases you did in the
you.
past.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you, as well as your viewers, you have also seen the very characteristic package for this.
Yes, so the Old Malt Cask was actually begun about 20 years ago, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've just released some bottlings in the very original presentation, which looks quite retro now. It looks older than 20 years, I would say. It looks wonderful. It's got the green glass bottle, and then the quite striking gold label. I think people who have been connoisseurs, have been drinking and enjoying single cask Scotch whiskies for a couple of decades or longer, would probably remember some of these early Old Malt Cask bottlings.
Yeah, it's a very classic bottling,
yes,
right?
Yes, so there were a lot of, I think quite a lot of the reputation originally for the Old Malt Cask brand came from some Ardbegs which were bottled in the kind of the turn of the century, so sort of 2000, 2001. A lot of 1970s Ardbegs, which were wonderful whiskies.
Yeah, they usually are.
Yes, quite hard to get now at auction, and they go for a lot more than we would have sold them originally.
Yeah. Obviously, the 70s Ardbeg, you can't get that easily now,
No,
can you?
no.
So basically, you're working as a blender and an independent bottler now.
Correct.
And I'm very excited. I knew about the independent bottlings. I've tried some of them in the past, and I'm not that familiar actually with the blends you're doing, the blended malts you're doing.
Okay.
Are you only doing blended malts? You don't do any blends?
Oh no, we do some blends. Our main brand of blended whiskey is called House of Peers. It's historically, I think back in the 60s, my dad tells me it used to be popular in Italy in the 60s and 70s. And indeed, I recently bought an old bottle from an auction site with an Italian tax strip on it from Italy. It was I haven't opened it yet.
Italy has like their own whiskey history, whiskey fan base.
They do. They have a wonderful culture, and of course, a lot of the big collectors still are in Italy. So it's a good mine of whiskey history if you want to go and explore and find old bottlings. So I guessed when I bought that from online, it would be coming from Italy, and it did.
It did, yeah.
So House of Peers, still we sell it in the Far East quite a lot, in China, Taiwan, a little bit in South America as well. It's a wonderful blend. We've tried to keep the blend, of course, with the blended whiskey. That's the aim, to keep the blend consistent over the decades, and it works quite well. So that's our blended whiskey. We actually do a lot of private label blend as well.
Okay.
And then
And would you like to explain what is a private blend for our
private?
viewers?
So private label would be if a customer, for example, maybe a big retail chain, said they wanted their own whiskey.
Yeah,
brand.
like Tesco or Harrods.
Exactly. Tesco or
like
Harrods. We don't supply Tesco, Harrods as a customer. Fortnum and Mason, which is another big high-end store in London.
Yeah.
These kind of retailers sometimes like their own label of blend, and so that's how we work with these kind of companies.
Oh, that's interesting. So in front of us here we have two bottles coming from you, and one is the first one. I thought we should start with that. It says on the bottle it's Islay Journey. I actually never heard of this one. Would you like to tell us a bit about it?
This is maybe a world exclusive, actually. We're talking about the Islay Journey. We've done a very soft launch of it, just by introducing it to our customers, such as Clydesdale in Sweden. We haven't yet publicly released it because we wanted to get some feedback, see how it went down, and the initial feedback's been very positive. Islay Journey is indeed a blended malt Scotch whisky, which, as you and your viewers will certainly know, means it's 100% malt whisky, made from malted barley in malt distilleries, but obviously coming from more than one distillery.
Yeah. So it's basically the same, I would say, grade as a single malt.
Correct.
But it's from different distilleries, basically.
Some people I hear even argue, it's a convincing argument, that a blended malt is a higher grade or should be considered more prestigious than a single because it's an amalgamation, and the blender has put even more effort into creating it.
I actually, that's an interesting topic, because I always say that you should be able to do a much more complex and exclusive whiskey by using a whiskey from several distilleries. You will get a larger toolbox, so to say.
Exactly.
So it has always been a kind of a mystery to me why no one created this super whiskey using the best from different distilleries.
Well, we've tried. We've tried. So
I'm very interested. But this one comes from Islay only, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. So Islay Journey, exclusively 100% Islay single malts. There is, I believe, 5 single malts in this particular blended malt.
So more than half of the distilleries from Islay?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to disclose which distilleries, or is it a secret?
Good question. I'm not sure. I will tell you that one of the distilleries we've already mentioned, with regards to 70s bottlings, there's a lot of that in this Islay Journey.
That sounds promising.
There are a couple of the neighbours from the south coast down there.
Yeah.
I think I may have just given away a large part of them.
And it's probably not that much Port Ellen.
Probably not much.
No. So that would give away a bit about what distilleries are involved in this. So let's. I'm very curious. Let's try it.
Yep. Okay, cheers.
And this was the one, right?
Yes. So Islay Journey is bottled at 46%.
Oh, that's nice.
Alcohol.
So does it mean that it's only unchill filtered?
Correct. So there's no adulteration in that sense. It should be quite oily on the mouth when we get to that.
Yeah, it is even oily in the nose, I would say.
So there's also some Kalila in here. So
I can taste that from or I can.
We'll get
feel
to
the nose.
We'll get to the single malt Kalila in a few minutes, but the Kalila, you pick up some lemony notes. For sure, it's quite light, quite zesty.
Absolutely, and the characteristic Kalila smoke peat notes as well.
Yes, for sure.
It's very characteristic. Oh, this one is good.
Thank you.
This is really good. It's kind of a mix, a very powerful mix of the different characteristics of the distilleries involved.
Yes.
You can really taste them all, kind of.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you're familiar with one of the distilleries, you will definitely recognize it in this one.
If you have a favorite from the 5, you'll probably be able to pick it out.
Yeah.
My favorite tends to be Kalila, actually. I'm a big fan of Kalila, and I pick out the zestiness there. That kind of, it's a bit of a cliche, but that kind of beach barbecue note.
I agree. Actually, it's a good description.
And then there's the elements of the tarriness, that oiliness underlying it.
It has it's quite complex and still has very much attitude.
Yes,
I like that.
Great.
But this is not an age statement, right?
No age statement, no age. Obviously, as you and your viewers know, we can't put an age on unless it's the very youngest age.
No, exactly. So it would be a quite low potential if one of them are younger.
Exactly.
Expression, then you couldn't put like 12 on it.
Yes.
You had to say 6 or 8 or something else.
Exactly. The average age is probably around 8 years old in there. But again, we can't put that on the label.
No.
Can't put an average age. There's some older, there's some younger. So we'll just leave it a mystery.
Yeah. I really like this one. And this one, to my understanding, will come to Sweden as well.
Absolutely.
But it's not here yet. Maybe when this show is out. But we'll let you know the exact dates and price and release and things
Excellent.
like that.
Appreciate that.
So very nice whiskey, and I really think it's a good thing to release it in 46%. You don't see many blends or blended malts that actually take the extra effort to stay at 46%,
Right.
which I really appreciate.
Yes, it's our customers. We've worked over the years with the customers who are buying single cask bottlings, and our family name, the Hunter Laing company, is known for supplying whiskies that are appreciated by connoisseurs, I like to think.
Yeah.
So when we did launch the blended malt, it had to be aimed at them, at the loyal supporters who have helped us get to where we are.
Yeah, and I predict that this will be very, very popular in Sweden.
Excellent. That's great to hear.
Especially since you viewers, you tend to like peated whiskey, and this is a really good one.
Hopefully I'll be able to pour it for some Swedish drinkers at various shows.
Yes. I hope so.
In the years to come.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have this old malt cask.
Yes.
It's a single cask release.
This is a single cask, yeah.
And
so
it's Kulila.
It is Kulila. We're quite informative, I would say, about what is in the bottle on the old malt cask labels. So the old malt cask has always been bottled at 50% alcohol, so a step up in terms of the power. It's got the distillery mentioned on the label. Of course, the number of bottles, which is in this case 155 bottles. It was a refill hogshead.
Yeah.
So this was probably half of the cask was left over from being put into Islay journey. So there would have been.
Yes.
Otherwise, there would be more than 300 bottles at this age.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
From a refill hogshead. So refill American oak hogshead, bottled in November 16, so 2 years ago.
And this one is unfortunately sold out in Sweden, at least. So if you find it in an auction, that might be the case, but you can't buy it any longer in Sweden.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to try this one. This is the one,
That's
right?
the one. Yeah.
So I'm going to be really honest here. I'm not a big Kulila fan.
Okay.
We have one at Whiskey ABC. It's Högländaren Ian. He's a real big Kulila fan.
Okay, good.
It's a bit cold, I think.
No, it needs a bit warmed up.
Yeah.
Maybe a dash of water.
Yeah, it could do with that. We'll not do it here, but it's always a recommendation to try any whiskey with some water.
Immediately on the nose, you can compare it with the Islay journey, and it's actually considerably less peaty on the nose, less smoky on the nose.
Yes. I mean, Kulila, they have a lower ppm normally than the other Islay peaty distilleries, right?
Yeah. I think in the spirit, yes. I'm not sure if the malt is the same, is 40 ppm or not.
No, I don't know either actually, but it reeks less of this heavy peat than you would say about maybe Lafroig or Ardbeg. I think it has a very balanced nose for only 8 years. I like that. Oh, this one is actually it's actually pretty good.
Good. We're trying to convert you to drink Kulila.
Actually, it was a while since I tried a Kulila, since I don't appreciate them that much. But this one, it surprises me because I actually really like it.
That's great. That's good to know. Yeah.
And I wouldn't just say that. You know that I usually say when I don't like whiskey as well. So, but this one, it surprised me. It's very good.
Yeah, it's quite easy drinking. I feel even at the 50%, I wouldn't feel the need to add much water.
No, not me either, actually. And it might be the young age or the younger age of 8 years that makes me like it more.
Yeah,
it could be that.
Okay, yeah. I just find Caol Ila a great malt, both for drinking as a single malt and for using in blends. We're fortunate in Hunter Laing. We have a lot of Caol Ila maturing in our warehouses, and we use it for both blending, blended whiskey, albeit in relatively small quantities. Blended malt like Islay Journey, in which we use it in larger quantities, and then of course we enjoy picking out single casks at ages between probably about 5 and 6 all the way up to 40 years old as single cask bottlings. We released actually last year a very nice Caol Ila for our new kinship label, which maybe we'll talk about later, and that was a wonder of older sherry casks, Caol Ila. And I just find it's one of these distilleries that works at any age. Yeah.
I mean, Caol Ila is obviously a very good choice if you need something for Islay characteristics in a blended malt as well.
Yes.
Or in a blend.
It's impressive. They produce a lot of whiskey there.
Yeah.
More than 6 million litres of alcohol.
Oh, they're up to 6 million litres.
I think it's in that region, and yet in our experience, the consistency of the spirit is very, very good.
I agree with that.
And it doesn't even need to be in a very active cask. It can be in this case, a refill American oak hogshead. But even after only 8 years, it's soft, well integrated.
It is.
And it's got that Islay peat, of course.
Yeah. So, what are the plans for the future for Hunter Laing? What are you planning next? Are you sticking with old malt cask series and doing blended and blended malts, or do you have anything new coming up?
Well, as far as the Hunter Laing core business goes, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing.
Yeah, good. That's a good thing.
We're passionate about blended whiskey, I would say. We're passionate about creating blended malts. We have the Islay Journey, we have Highland Journey, which is obviously the Highland sister product. Yeah. We may add 1 or 2 more to that.
Do you know malt. If the Highland Journey will come to Sweden as well?
I believe it might be available in. It should be coming.
That's interesting. So keep your eyes open for that.
Completely different profile. Very, very soft, no peat at all. Bourbon and sherry cask influence. Quite honeyed, kind of cocoa powder in there.
That's nice.
It's a wonderful,
very different character.
Exactly, it's the polar opposite of this one. Great everyday dram, actually.
Yeah. Will it also be 46%?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
That's nice.
For sure. So that part of the business is where we're focusing. Single casks is always going to be a part of what Hunter Laing does. We have our old malt cask label, our first editions label, which is similar types of products, similar types of whiskies, but bottled at cask strength. And then our old and rare label, which is sometimes called the platinum, platinum release. We've been quite careful over the last years to look after our maturing stocks of good quality single casks, so that we can maintain the old malt cask brand, the old and rare brand, the first editions brand going forward in the next decades, really. And of course, a whiskey company always has to look to the future, so we're filling a lot of casks with new spirit all the time. So we still have our relationships and our contracts and agreements with other distillers, and we still fill a couple of dozen different distilleries whiskey into casks for blends in the future and for single cask bottlings of the future. Yeah.
Do you normally, so to say, buy the whiskey when the cask is filling, or do you buy already matured casks as well?
Usually we have to buy new fill.
Yeah.
And then wait.
And then wait. So you have your own warehouses then?
Yes, absolutely. We've got a warehouse just outside Glasgow, which is a space for, I just over 15,000 casks. So it's relatively, well, in Scotch whisky terms, relatively small, but for our purposes, it's quite big enough. And we've also, next door to that, got our bottling hall. So we carry out all our bottling on site.
As you do it yourself.
Yes, exactly. It's quite useful to be able to do it ourselves, because if we have a customer requiring a product shipped quickly, we're able to act on that and work overtime and make sure that the customer's happy.
You don't have a dependency on another bottling company.
Because at certain times of the year it can get very busy. In the last few months, of course, it's the busiest time of the year. Yeah, the kind of autumn time.
Leading up to Christmas as well.
Exactly. So yes, we do that. Of course, if there's mature spirit available on the market, we will buy it if it's good quality. But mature Scotch whisky in casks these days is, it's very valuable. It's hard to come by, and whoever has it tends to know what they're going to do with it themselves. And they don't sell it to other companies. So we're very fortunate to have been in the industry for a long time. My father, who still leads the company from the front, he's been in the whisky industry for 56 years.
That's quite a time.
Yes, he still hasn't gotten bored of it.
I can understand that.
Yes. So we're quite fortunate to have good relationships in the industry, and to have been laying down whisky for so long.
In your experience, I mean, obviously you are very well connected within the Scotch whisky industry. Has it become more difficult to get the distilleries to release whiskey to you?
I've only been myself in the industry for about 7 or 8 years, so I haven't seen too much of a change in that respect in that time. But certainly, from hearing what my dad has to say, it was much easier decades ago to get any whiskey you wanted, almost.
You hear all the time that it starts to be a shortage on the liquid for everyone almost. So that would make sense that it's more difficult to buy it.
Exactly.
As well.
Also, I think some of the larger brand owners are much more careful now about selling onto the blending market spirits with the name of the distillery on them. This is where you get the phenomenon of teaspooned malts coming from.
Yes, and just to explain the teaspoon malt, we have been talking about that in earlier programs, but isn't that when you just put like a very small amount from another distillery in a cask in order to be able to just sell it like a blend, and you can't, or actually you can't sell it as a single malt.
Correct. It's then a blended malt, even if it's just one drop. The quality of that blended malt remains the same as
it will be pretty much the same
whatever single malt it was. So the quality is the same. The value is then different. If you would be selling it as an independent bottling. So that's something that's become more common, I think, in recent years, recent decades. Yes, so it's not as easy as it once was, put it that way.
Okay, so we'll take a short break, and we'll be back very soon with a couple of more questions.
Okay, thank you.
So we're back again, and now this time we have actually a new whiskey in front of us as well. It wasn't planned, so it was
a surprise.
A bit of a surprise one. And this is a single cask as well from another series that you have. What was it called again? The first edition?
The first editions, yeah. So this is a range which came out about 2010. Actually, I started it myself as a small experiment, really. I was interested to join the whisky industry on my own and work on my own. And at that time, it was still possible to find a little bit more mature single malt on the kind of brokerage market. So I was able to select a few casks back in 2009, 2010, and begin the first editions label. The Sundblom family from Clydesdale were very helpful and supportive, and brought some of these into Sweden for me.
Yeah.
So I've been...
They usually do a very good job with that.
They do. They're professionals. So that was, that's actually why I've been coming to Sweden myself for about 8 years to help promote these whiskies, even before we formed Hunter Laing and Company.
Yeah. So what's the main difference between this series and the old mold cask?
The main difference is that these are cask strength bottlings, essentially.
Oh, so they are just as they come from the cask, basically.
Correct. The old malt cask we historically have reduced down to 50% alcohol, which is a great drinking strength, as we discovered with the Kalila 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's great. A lot of people love the cask strength kind of terminology. That kind of cask strength is a term or a buzzword phrase that excites people, and these days people like to hear cask strength. So we offer the OMC, the old malt cask, which is the historical 50% strength, and then the first editions for those looking for cask strength.
Oh, that's nice. So you have an option for everyone, basically.
Correct.
Yeah. And this one, this is Glenkeith.
Yeah, Glenkeith.
From 96.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So it's actually quite pale in colour, but it's a refill sherry butt. So American oak sherry butt, that would be 21 years old.
It's very nice in the nose. And it's very different from the ones we tried before.
Yeah, we should have probably tried in the other order.
The other way around, yeah, but you still get the character very much from the nose.
Yeah, very soft.
Very soft, very nice, very sweet in the nose.
Kind of light fruitiness.
Yes.
Summery kind of.
Yeah, it's really a summer dram.
For sure, for sure. And we're drinking it at the beginning of December.
Yeah. And with 57%, I'll have to try it without water, but. It's a very nice cask.
Long finish. One of the criteria, of course, when we're selecting whiskies to be bottled under the first editions label or the old and rare label, as well the platinum, is that they must be manageable at cask strength. So you must be able to drink them at cask strength without adding water. If something is a great whiskey but needs water, we know the drinker will need to add water, then we'll bottle it at a lower strength. We'll bottle it at 50%.
Yeah.
So when you buy or drink a first editions or an old and rare, you know that, at least in our opinion, and everything's opinion in whiskey, that we think you could drink it at cask strength.
Yeah, and I agree. This is definitely possible to drink at cask strength. Out of curiosity, I added some water.
Okay.
So. A little bit less in your face spirit strength, and that might be a good thing. But to be honest, I actually enjoyed it more without water.
Yes, yeah, me too.
It didn't do much for the taste actually.
No,
water
remained pretty similar.
Yeah. So and that's very different between different whiskies.
Yes,
obviously.
Oh, for sure.
Some whiskies open up very much when you add some water.
Absolutely.
So. With that said, thank you for letting us try this series as well. It's very interesting to see more of your portfolio.
Thank you.
When it comes to the liquid itself, what are your plans in the area of getting your own liquids, your own distillery?
Yes, well, when we started Hunter Laing in 2013, we're very much a family company. It's my brother Scott and I. We work with our dad, Stuart, like I said, who's been in the industry for 56 years. So small family company.
With a lot of experience.
Yes, and we're very much whiskey people. My dad is very much a whiskey person, having been immersed in it for so long. And one thing that we've never been as a family were distillers. My grandfather was a blender and bottler for his career, and then my dad, for these 56 years, has been a blender and bottler, an exporter of Scotch whisky, but never a distiller. So that was very much the missing part of our our company and
or maybe the next
our
step.
experience. Yes. So we took the decision at the time in 2013. There was no possibility really of a small company like ourselves being able to buy a distillery. All the distilleries in Scotland, or there were not really any for sale, and any that would come up with stock would be hugely valuable to whoever was selling them. And
yeah, so pretty
we would
expensive.
be exactly. We would be out of the running for that. So we had to take the decision: what we're going to do. We're going to have to build a distillery, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, so I heard.
Yes. People warned us at the beginning. You know, it's very difficult. Some people, even who had built them, said, "Oh, if I could go back, I wouldn't do it. If I knew how difficult it was going to be." But strategically, we needed to, from a commercial point of view, have our own distillery, and from a kind of passion, life dream point of view, we wanted very much to do that as well.
I'm very happy to hear that. It's always exciting with new distilleries, of course, especially coming from such experienced owners.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've sold and continue to sell a lot of different whiskies from a lot of different distilleries, so we have quite a broad view of the industry and what the Scotch whisky industry produces.
Yeah.
So we knew exactly what kind of whisky we wanted to produce.
So how far have you come with your plans when it comes to a new distillery?
Well, so we've in the last 3 years we've managed to basically now build and complete our own distillery.
Oh, nice.
Ardnahoe on the island of Islay, famous Isle of Islay. So Ardnahoe, which will open to the public, I believe, in about 2 weeks. So
it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now.
Well, I'm painting myself into a corner here by announcing a date.
So somewhere from now and the coming weeks or months,
Thank you.
it will be open. Yeah,
certainly in the coming months.
Yeah.
We would like to open to the public by the end of this year, 2018.
Yeah.
So Ardnahoe is on the island of Islay. We only ever wanted to build a distillery in one place, and that was on the Isle of Islay. We have certain family connections to Islay. I believe on my grandmother's side, my father's mother's side, there were some publicans in Beaumore, in the capital of Islay, and living there in the 1800s. So we have some relatives or ancestors buried in the famous round church in Beaumore.
Yeah, so you have the connection to Islay already.
We're not considered Elachs by the islanders. We would never,
probably not.
We would never claim to be. We don't want to get into trouble. But we're West of Scotland Company. We're based in Glasgow, so maybe we're quite close. Certainly in spirit, we consider ourselves close to the island.
So I'm very excited to hear that you have built a distillery at Islay. Why? What was it? Is the plan to actually do Islay style whiskey, or are you going to do your own styles, or are you doing different styles? Have you any plans for that? Do you have any thinking about around that?
The plan is absolutely to produce the best Islay single malt whiskey and Islay style single malt whiskey that we can.
That's quite a challenge,
yes.
Isn't it?
Oh yeah. We love a challenge.
Yeah.
We're quite realistic about the challenge. We're going in to not compete with, but work with or work alongside some of the very best distilleries in the world, some of the most experienced whiskey makers in the world, and some of the whiskies with the biggest reputations in the world.
Absolutely.
So we're not, we have our eyes open about what's ahead of us, but we have a long-term vision. We're totally committed to quality. We're not really, our finance director might not want to hear me say this, or our accountants, but we're not as concerned with the yield of the distillery, or it's more very much with the quality of the spirit that we're getting out.
That sounds very promising.
Yes. So with that in mind, when we designed the distillery, with the help actually of a certain Jim McEwen, who's our master distiller, we said we didn't want to take any chances with how we built it. So if you talk to 20 experts in building distilleries and you ask them the question, this is my experience, should we have steel washbacks or wooden washbacks? 10 of them will say steel and 10 will say wooden.
Yeah, that's actually my experience as well when discussing this issue with different distillers.
The same when it comes to condensers. Should we have shell and tube condensers or should we have worm top condensers?
Yeah.
Same again.
Yeah.
50-50
so
split.
There is no clear answer or clear expertise in the area,
Right,
so
yeah.
it's very difficult. Yeah.
So then you come down to deciding or trying to identify, like a historian, what have been our favourite whiskies from the past. How were they
done?
How were they produced?
Yeah.
And you know, there's a million variations or reasons as to why a whiskey may have tasted the way it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we so we decided to go with wooden washbacks, the famous and very attractive looking Oregon pine.
They are very nice looking.
Washbacks. The still, the shapes of the shape of the pot stills is the so-called kind of lantern or watch glass shape.
Okay.
Quite similar to many distilleries in Scotland, including Ardbeg, including some of the stills at Laphroaig. And we went for the worm tub condensers as well, which were quite a challenge, I think, for the engineering company to build.
It's not that easy.
Not that easy, no. And I was surprised at how huge, actually, how much copper is involved in worm tub condensers. They look amazing. Unfortunately, the coil, the serpent, is submerged and
yeah, it's not visible.
No, and we actually looked at whether we could have some kind of glass panel built into the side of one of them, so we could,
nice.
and then backlight it. But maybe when in the future.
Yeah.
Ardnahoe is situated on the northeast coast of Islay.
So it's near Portaskeg?
Yep, it's pretty near. It's situated directly in between Bunnahabhain and Colilla distilleries.
So
on the coast there.
So now the north coast has 3 distilleries as well.
The EBC distilleries.
Yeah.
Ardnahoe, Bunnahabhain and Colilla.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes.
So when can we expect to see some liquids coming out from the distillery or actually coming out to the market?
Yeah.
What's the plan there?
So we've already started distilling whiskey or spirit. Jim McEwen has been on site for many days or many late nights testing the equipment, checking it, and he's extremely happy with the spirit. It's got wonderful Islay smoke. We're using barley from Port Ellen maltings.
Yep.
So that Islay peak coming through, Islay smoke. There's a lovely fruitiness to the new make, and a wonderful texture as well. It's of course, it's like if you're your own baby, you always think it's most beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
But we're very happy with it, and Jim's very happy with it. So I think we agree internally in the company that we've kind of identified and solidified what will be the spirit, what the character is now. So now it's just a case of maturing and continuing to produce. So at the moment we're filling into American oak bourbon, fresh bourbon casks. We'll experiment, we'll fill sherry as well, casks, and just keep producing in the years ahead. In terms of when we'll release actual whiskey, well, we don't have any plans to bottle new make and release that into the market.
No. And that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I think we'd like to just work quietly in the background, see how the spirit develops in the different types of casks, and then when the spirit tells us it's ready to make its debut, we'll bottle some and release it.
Yeah. So we're hoping for quick maturation here. So
yes, yeah.
But maybe like 4, 5, 6 years that we're going to see the first releases.
Probably, exactly. Yeah. We won't hurry it. We don't need to hurry it from a kind of the business plan point of view. No. We're quite happy just to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, and build the stock. Obviously.
Yes. The stock in the early years is important to have as much old stock or early stock as possible.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if anyone wants to try the new make, they're more than welcome to come and visit us at Ardnahoe.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, look forward to seeing you there. We've got we have a big visitor centre at Ardnahoe. Actually, we sold some. We did an offer to private individuals to buy their own private cask.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's very starting to get very common with the new distilleries. So,
yes.
So it's possible to buy your private cask. Would that be smaller casks or regular sized casks?
Well, we made an offer for private people to buy a bourbon barrel of Ardnahoe new make from the inaugural first year of production.
Oh.
So we offered a few hundred casks. We've actually sold our allocation now.
You did?
It was very popular. We got huge uptake, a huge amount of interest.
Yeah.
People want to own their own cask of Islay whiskey.
Yeah, it's understandable. It's a new Islay distillery.
And the first year, distilled by Jim McEwen, and I think the uniqueness of the worm tub condensers excited a lot of people as well. The uniqueness in terms of Islay.
Yeah.
So that was quite successful. So that's helped us with cash flow, honestly, which allows us some.
That's a good trick actually, and makes many people happy as well to get their own private cask.
Yes. We're delighted to have several hundred excited, enthusiastic people who've, for a start, trusted us and had confidence enough to support us. They'd all signed up actually before we'd even distilled anything.
Yeah.
So it was a big vote of confidence.
It was, yeah.
And these private cask owners, it's great to have people along with us on the journey, because we're starting out on the journey. We're creating a new whiskey. We're creating a new story. Really, it's the beginning of a story which is going to last for a long time. I mean, the other Islay distilleries have been there 200 years.
Yeah.
Most of them.
And you could as well.
Yes, I hope so.
We'll see in 200 years.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll do another interview then.
Yeah. So with that said, we're running out of time, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us here in the Whiskey Podcast, Whiskey ABC. Thank you to Clydesdale for letting us be here at Oxon and meeting you, arranging that. And a good luck with your continuing effort with Ardnahoe. I'm looking very forward to try the whiskey when it's done.
Thank you.
And I'm certainly going to try to visit as well.
Please, anytime.
Yeah, and thanks for telling me about the portfolio.
Great. So I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for taking the time to ask these questions. Appreciate your interest, and appreciate the interest of the Swedish drinkers who make it all possible. Really.
Yeah. So don't miss out on Ardnahoe. And cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.